Hi, how's everyone out there doing? This is Amy Hamilton, author of The Project Manager, Life is a Project, and The Consummate Communicator, Character Traits of True Professionals. And I have to tell you, I am so honored that Vanessa Raymond is here with me today. Um, for 24 authors in 12 hours, this is a virtual book festival. It's an international book festival. Before COVID, we could go out and we would hear these different authors on the stage and we wander around the booth and pick up books. And unfortunately, that's just not an option right now. But the great thing about this is this really just opened up the audience. So I'm in Arlington, Virginia. I have Vanessa, who you're out in Colorado, right?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Another of my Colorado speakers. And but we have speakers today who are from South Africa, speakers from India, New Zealand, the UK, and even as far out as Alaska in the United States. And right now, it's a time that people have had a lot of difficulty and challenges. And what I really like about Vanessa's message is it's about that harnessing that inner you. She is an acclaimed speaker. She's a coach. She's a presenter. She's an author. But most importantly, she's just a fabulous human being. And so, Vanessa, can you just tell us a little bit about what inspired your book?
You're so sweet, Amy, and thank you for the introduction. I'm so happy to be here today. Well, I'll tell you, the book is a long time coming. And just to add to your introduction there, you said you have people from South Africa. I'm originally from South Africa. That's where I was raised and born and raised. And also grew up through a lot of adversity, but very lucky to have had a very secure childhood with parents who are loving and always supported everything that I ever wanted to do. And actually, all I ever wanted to do was dance. I was a little dancer from age 3. I started ballet, and that just bloomed and blossomed into all kinds of different forms of dance. And I ended up going to college for musical theater, and I became a musical theater major. And so my book, Killer Confidence, is really a direct result from my experiences as a performer. I performed professionally for, 20 odd years, 28 years, I think. I never counted. And then I've always been, because of my dance background, I've always been in the fitness industry as well. So I moved into the fitness industry, became a Pilates instructor, a kettlebell instructor, but specifically in the Pilates studio. So between my experiences as a dancer and a performer, that world is just a whole nother ball game when it comes to just always comparing yourself to others and bashing yourself down and getting mean comments from audience members and directors and choreographers. And you're always dealing with that. And how to pull yourself out of that, get up and go again and just do it again. And then also my work in the fitness industry with my clients and seeing the results when it was kind of a natural instinct of mine to really hone in on people's self-image and self-confidence in the gym as well, because that is really a place where people go to build their confidence, whether they're wanting to lose weight or build muscle, but it usually has a close connection to the self-image piece. And so I've had some pivotal moments with clients specifically in this case, the Pilates studio, that led to this book. And actually, I have an education program called The Victory Factor, which kind of was where I started. And then eventually, I've been wanting to write this book forever. And I just finally said to my husband, look, because I have a young child. And I said, can you take Levi for a few days? I need to sit down. And of course, it's more than a few days, but I just need to do this. I really want to do this. And so the inspiration behind the book is really my life experience. And the book was pretty much written stream of consciousness, sharing some of those pivotal stories, things that have happened in my life that made me realize what those tools and tips. And then, of course, I've had coaches, I've had people that I've worked with as well, and have learned so much in my years in the fitness and the health and wellness, as well as the performance industry.
You bring up so many great points there, and sometimes it's hard to figure out which thread to pull on first. But one of the things that really struck me is that you were talking about how this building of self-confidence is what you build in these different fitness studios for people. And I think that that's so important. One of the first speakers we had today, actually, she was the first speaker, Hassani Patel, who's also from South Africa and living in South Africa.
And I know her.
Oh no, what a small, literally small world, right?
I know, very small.
So hopefully you had a chance to watch hers. If not, you can always watch the recording. But she talks about that importance of the mind-body connection. And as authors, I know a lot of times we're focused on the writing, we're focused on the cerebral, but there is that physical connection that when you are in a good place physically, that when you're in a good place emotionally, that your writing isn't just mental, it connects to those other things.
Absolutely. Look, I always say, so the way I work with people, I also coach them on self-image and self-confidence, is a little unconventional because of my background. So it's always an outside in, inside out experience with me. You cannot remove one from the other. The inside and the outside, that mind-body connection, that connecting, the work with the visions and the purpose and the self-talk and affirmations and all those things are so important. But my angle actually comes more from a physical perspective. And the way my philosophy goes is that quite often we feel like we have more control over our physical body than we do over our mental, emotional. Sometimes it feels really difficult to tap into that mental, emotional. And so my methods come from more physical work. And the work that I specifically do is on posture and body language, because just like our posture and our body language shifts when our mental, emotional state shifts, we actually have the power to shift our mental, emotional by shifting what we are physically doing with our bodies. And so by changing the way we show up, by changing the way we stand, the way we communicate with others, we can change the way we feel. We can change the way other people communicate back with us, because essentially what you give out is what you're going to bring back to you, right? And so if you have practiced these physical principles that we can pretty much rehearse, and we can work it into our bodies and make it second nature, then lifting ourselves up emotionally and mentally, that's a great tool. And so that's kind of what this book is all about.
I think that's really powerful. And a friend of mine, I want to say not even a week ago, I was asking, like, how did you get involved in working out? And he said that after he had to have, he had torn meniscus and surgery on both his knees. And he said, no, I was weak and I was out of shape. And he said, but what I realized is I had control by working out, how it really changed his life. Now you have clients that probably are in similar situations. I obviously would never ask you to divulge something of a client that would be too personal, but can you share with the audience how maybe more generally, or give some case studies that you feel, comfortable sharing on how have you been able to help somebody with their physical, with, you said, like, posture, and I can just see that you're a dancer and how that comes through. How has that transformed someone?
Well, you know what, if you're okay, I'll tell you a little story. And this is a true story. And this is really where the Victory Factor was born. And so also this book. While I was still performing, I did a lot of traveling. I also performed on cruise ships, as well as various theaters around the world. I've done a lot of traveling. And my home base at the time was Las Vegas. And I worked at a rehab facility as a post-rehab specialist in the Pilates studio there. And but actually this day I had a walk-in client. She did not come from the physical therapist. And she walked in I literally couldn't see her face. She had her bangs hanging over her eyes. She was looking down. She had this really internalized, I want to hide type of posture, right? And this is way before I knew what I know now. So she, with a very timid voice, said to me, Vanessa, or she didn't know me. She said, excuse me, I would love to do some Pilates. And I booked her in for the next day. I said, please come in. We'll do your consultation. And she signed up right there and then. And we signed her up for like a package of, I don't know, 20 sessions, whatever it was. And the next day she came in. Same posture, I literally couldn't see her face. I couldn't see her eyes. I couldn't see her mouth. She was just hiding. I sat her down like I normally do all my clients for her consultation. And during the consultation, I learned that a few years prior, she had a tumor removed from her neck. And when she pulled her hair back, there was literally no skin or muscle on the side of her neck. It was just a gouge. So I immediately realized that she was hiding this. She was totally insecure about this. Didn't make a big deal of it, of course, just, okay, fine, let's get you on the reformer. We started working, we did our work without making it a long story to get to the point. I worked with her twice a week. She came in, but after every session, like I said, I was always kind of intuitive about this. For some reason, I made her get up and stand in front of the mirror because, look, Pilates work is all about posture. It's all about stabilizing the postural muscles and building the secondary muscle groups. So I'd have her stand in front of the mirror. I say to her, smile at yourself in the mirror and look how beautiful you look standing upright. And slowly but surely, she got more comfortable with that. After every session, I made her do that. 10 weeks into her training, she came prancing into the studio. I didn't recognize her. She had cut her hair short, like a pixie style. And her husband was trailing right behind her. I didn't know him. I'd never met him. She came and she gave me a hug, and he walked in and went straight for a hug and grabbed me by the shoulders and said, I had to come in and meet you and thank you. You changed my wife's life. And I was like, what just happened? I was literally close to tears. I didn't know what to do with that. But that, in a nutshell, brings back the power of connecting that physical body with the mind and the mental, emotional, and changing the patterns that we have through physical movements to change the thought process in the mind. And let me just add, if I can add something to that, the other thing is that when we are not aligned with gravity, and we all know this saps your energy. You have tension everywhere because essentially when we're hunched over, when we're not in good posture, gravity is pulling on these pieces of our body all the time that's not aligned with the earth. And so once you find that aligned posture, you will find that you have so much more energy in the day because you're not being drained and you're not dragging your body parts around. It's so much easier to get around, have more energy, feel more vibrant, and then at the same time appear more vibrant because you are.
Vannessa, you have so much energy, and I just have to say this time with you is flying by. I looked at the time and I just realized like wow, I could just talk to you for hours. One thing for my audience out there is today is January 20th, and my books are available: The Consummate Communicator, Character Traits of True Professionals, as well as The Project Manager, Life is a Project, all day for Kindle download free. And Vannessa, I know that you had some specials that we talked about that you wanted to discuss as well.
Yes. So, Amy, my book's actually in the process of being published. I'm waiting for my proof in the mail. So what I have done, I'm not quite in pre-launch yet, but for your audience here today, I went and I specifically last night put up a page with a pre-launch special. So if the book will be released at the price of $24.95. But for the pre-launch special, they can now, if they want to go and purchase the book, get it for $12.99 or $12.95. And then as soon as they arrive, those will go in the mail for anybody who orders now.
Perfect. And I put that link into the chat for anybody who is interested. So if anybody watches this later on as a recording, go ahead into that link. And let's talk about the title of your book a minute. So I just want to say I love the title. I wasn't sure at first if it was going to be more of a self-help book or if it's actually going to be a serial killer book, like kind of kind of thing. So I was like, oh, this could go anyway, right? And then I read the details on it. But you call it killer confidence, and I think it definitely conveys that, like, lots of positivity that you convey right here. Can you talk a little bit about how you came up with that name?
I have to laugh because my mom was really worried. When I told her the title of my book, she's like, I'm not sure about that. I'm like, Mom, look, it's slang, right? Like, it's like slang language. Like, oh my gosh, that girl looks killer. Okay. So that's kind of, and I have to say, I've gone through titles for my book, but this one just popped up one day and it stuck. It wasn't something that I intentionally chose. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It has a little shock value. So it will draw attention. You know, when you're going through title ideas, you want something that draws people's attention. And I did realize that when they read the subtitle, now I have to think about the subtitle. Your ultimate guide to unstoppable confidence. Then it's like, okay, oh, now I see, right?
Yeah. So definitely not a slasher novel.
No, definitely not. And it is definitely a self-help book. It even has like a little workbook section at the back where I give you specific exercises you can do, specific things you can do, questions that you can answer. So it really is, the majority of the book is really, like I said, me sharing stories, and then I'm spinning out of the stories and telling you what that would mean in your life and how you can apply these principles. But the name of the book, honestly, I was literally just sitting there one day and I was like, killer confidence. And I guess it's got something to do with, you know, in the performance industry, you get a lot of eccentric types, right? And the way we communicate in the performance industry, sometimes I say if people should actually be a fly on the wall, they'll be like, what? You know, and a lot of it, it's just the way we communicate as performers. We're just a little eccentric and a little over the top. And so something like that is something that a performer would say, oh my gosh, you got killer confidence, girl. I love the way you act, or the way you are. Or so that's kind of just, and I love the fact that it might have some shock value.
No, I think it brings it all there, and definitely seeing your vivacious personality. It's fantastic. One thing I want to say is this is Inauguration Day in the United States, and there's a lot of people who are struggling. People ask me like, "Hey, do you know that you're going to do this on Inauguration Day?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to give people an option. Books can be wonderful. You can learn from them. You can escape reality from them. There's so much value in being able to like just pick up a good book and read a book. You've touched so much on self-confidence and self-care. What are your tips right now for people in our audience who might be having some anxiety or stress today?"
What I want to say is that regardless of circumstances, our goal is to always look beyond the circumstances, because your life is not going to change that much. We are affected greatly by what happens in the politics of our country. Absolutely. However, you cannot let that dictate how you run your life. You have to keep moving forward. I always say movement is important. We very rarely stand still. Forward movement is very important, because if we're not moving forward, we're inevitably moving back. In other words, get up in the morning, do your thing, be who you are, and know. My mom always said, if we take care of our own, the rest will take care of itself. And so really put your love and your attention and your care towards those closest to you, and let what's up there, we only have control over that as long as the election's going on. When the election is over, we really don't have any more control. And I think that's where a lot of people's anxiety comes from, is they feel like they don't have control. But you do. You have control of your own life. Take control of that, and everything else will fall into place. life goes on and we deal with whatever we have to deal with. And if you always show up as your best self for those around you and those you love and those you care for and those that you coach or whatever you might be doing in life, know that every single person that you touch every day makes a difference.
Vanessa, your earlier story just really ties so well into that. That there was this, woman, and she obviously had these concerns. She had these issues. She had the concern about her neck and this illness that she had had. And, without even realizing it, you changed a life. And then you not only changed her life, you touched her husband's life. And you don't know how many lives beyond that. And every single day we have that opportunity with our words. And one of the things I say all the time is kindness is a gift that costs you nothing. And I think it's just so important to remember in these difficult times, whether it's sharing a story, being a listening ear, whatever we can do. And, one of the things of why I created this series, the 24 authors in 12 hours, is it's something that I'm doing as a passion project, because there are authors right now who, are struggling. We had Raven West earlier today, and she was kind of joking, but kind of serious, being like I am a starving author, and, authors, it is a form of artistry. And a lot of times people are doing this and they might have made their business off of it before. And COVID may have changed it in a way that has really negatively impacted that.
Yes, it's tough. It's tough for anybody. I mean, there's a lot of industries that are affected. Of course, anyone in the service industry, but I also watch my friends in the performance industry. There's nothing out there for them, and you can only do so much virtually, But I think to just tie into what you said, graciousness is something that I preach as well, and when it comes to confidence, yes, it is about success. Yes, it is about feeling good about yourself. But in the end, confidence is contagious. And if you feel good about yourself, you can help others feel good about themselves. And so really, we come back to that self-care piece and take care of yourself, but always be kind, always be gracious, because you don't know what someone else is going through. And if you can share a little sunshine, I always say your smile is your greatest superpower. And so use your smile, because something as simple as a smile can change someone's life. And I tell a lot of stories. One of them is the little old man in Walmart who I happened to run into. He works at the self-checkout area, and I made a mistake, so I needed help, and I flagged him down. I was like, "Excuse me, sir, can you please come help me? I rang this thing through." And he's always kind of grumpy looking, right? He's this cute little old man, and he doesn't have a smile. He's just like very serious. And I thanked him like I normally would, and he went off. And when I was done, as I walked out, he walked up to me and he put his hand on my shoulder, before COVID, this was, and he said, "Thank you for being so nice to me." And I'm like, oh, and I didn't think about it twice, but there maybe I brightened up his day, because people tend to not be so nice to him. So just be nice and kind. You don't know what you're doing for someone.
Such an important message, and especially during these hard times. And when people are trying to find fault, I always look at people as coming to you with positive intent. And I think one of the greatest things, the reason I love this series with these authors, is because authors are people who said, I'm going to share part of myself. And it's a great community of people who just really want to make a little bit of change. Vanessa, our time, unfortunately, is got to be wrapped up. Is there anything that I did not ask you about, or that you didn't get a chance to cover?
No, you are such a gracious hostess, and I love that you're doing this. I think you're doing such a great thing for authors. And me, myself, I want to thank you, because this is also obviously helping me launch my book and get the message out there. And my hope is just that this book can be a little bit of help to everybody in their home, to be able to find the ways to find that self-image and self-confidence and move forward positively, whether it is in their own personal life or in their business and career. I'm just hoping to touch some more lives, like you said, as us authors want to do.
And you bring up a great point, and I do want to say this is if you have an opportunity, I know that I bought tickets, for instance, to one of my Philharmonics, and I had the option to donate the money back, because a lot of the times, especially the smaller performing groups, this is a really, really difficult time where performers, aren't able to make a living. And so it's truly difficult times for everybody. Thank you so much for being on the show, Vanessa.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and good luck with the rest of your interviews.
Great. Yeah. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Bye-bye, Emmy.